welcome back to the Justin Prince Show. We're going to do a solo podcast here for a minute. I want to have a solo conversation with you about identity. You know, one of the chapters in my book is about updating your identity. Like, what you believe matters. You know, we make these decisions and these belief systems about ourselves and our identity and who we are. And I tell people that success is an identity process, and you're never going to outperform the way you see yourself. So if you see yourself as a loser, you're not going to show up and play like a winner. You see yourself as a winner, you're not going to roll over and quit like a loser. It wouldn't be consistent with your identity. I'll tell you the story in the book. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, he said, there's two boys, one of which stole the candy, and they said to the child, they said, did you steal the candy? The little boy said, I didn't steal the candy. He said to the other little boy, did you steal the candy? The little boy said, I don't steal. I didn't steal that particular piece of candy is an action. I don't steal is an identity. And over time, you will be consistent with the way that you see yourself, particularly when the chips are down, particularly when it's hard, particularly when you need to level up a little bit. And you need to dig a little deeper. That's when the true identity comes out. In fact, you often don't really meet people, the real person, until the chips are down, until there's pressure. You know, they're what I call revealing moments. So a revealing moment would be when the prodigal son returned. That was a revealing moment for the brother. You didn't realize all of the envy and the jealousy and the issues that the older brother was dealing with until the moment, that revealing moment of the son returning. Or, you know, Julius Caesar didn't realize Brutus's, his number one in command, his very best friend, he didn't realize the betrayal in his heart until Caesar was stabbed 21 times, and then Brutus, by his inner circle, by his crew, his top advisors, and Brutus walks up and stabs him again. It's the famous line from Shakespeare. He says, "E tu, Brute," which just basically means, you too, Brutus? You know, you're going to betray me too? That was a revealing moment. You know, it was revealed to him. Jesus didn't know that his very best friend Judas was going to betray him for, 30 pieces of silver. He didn't know it until Judas had that pressure. When Judas had that pressure, what was always in his heart, that jealousy, that envy, that betrayal was always there. It just wasn't revealed yet. You know, in the Navy SEALs, they have, in other words, his true identity. The Navy SEALs, what they'll do is they'll have him go through these intense trainings, but then they'll kidnap him as part of the training, and they'll take him and they'll interrogate him and to see which one of them will break, which one of them will turn the other ones over. Why did they do that? Because they're trying to say, when we put pressure on you, what's your real identity? You know, do you live by a code? You know, are you really in it for others? Are you willing to lay it all on the line? Because they don't want that pressure to be in combat. So the flip side's also true, my friends. You go through pressure times, pressure seasons of your life, and not only do you meet yourself, you'll also meet others. You'll be able to see who really does have your back, who really does support you, who really does see the best in you. Because problems do three things. Problems introduce you to you. You'll meet yourself during pressure. You'll meet yourself during the challenges. Problems will introduce you to others. You'll also meet them. And then problems will introduce you to opportunity. So those revealing moments when the pressure's on, that's when you start to see who people really are, including yourself. Now, I got an email from my son. My son, at the time we're filming this, he's about to get home from a 2-year mission from the Charleston, West Virginia mission. So he's lived in Virginia, West Virginia. He's lived in Kentucky, these different areas, and he's out there, teaching the good word and serving and adding value to people. And he wrote an email that just fired me up as a dad. And I want to share it with you because I think now this email, you imagine he's doing God's work out there, right? So this email's got a lot of faith in it and stuff, but I think it's so applicable to your life in all of these other key areas of your life. So I want to read this to you because when I read this, I was like, it fired me up. I was like, that's right, son, dang right. And I was so proud of him for the identity that he's built in. So he says, and I'll just read it to you and I'll give you commentary as we go. It says, out of those days that I remember most on my mission are the days when I was tested, humbled, pushed beyond the levels of stamina and faith I had previously adopted. So these are the days that he remembers the most, is the times he was pressured, the times that it was hardest, the times when it was the hottest. and the chips were down. That's the revealing moments. That's when he learned who he really is. He says, in those days, yes, those days when I pleaded with God for a unique measure of heaven's help that I'm the most grateful for. I remember I was reminded of the importance of having a strong why in the face of opposition by a comment a woman gave us just yesterday. So when times are tough, you lead with vision. And when times are tough, you remember why you got started in the first place. In other words, you start to stack reasons. Those of you going through challenging times right now, you stack reasons to keep going. Remember, there's always reasons. There's reasons to quit, and there's reasons to keep going. And the reasons you choose will define you. And so you just start stacking the reasons to keep moving forward. You keep stacking the reasons to keep making it happen. He said, though not a day nearly as challenging, stressful, and demanding as many of the days I'm sure you go through, yesterday proved to be a day that required more persistence and tenacity. After many rejections, missed church attendance, meaning they had folks they invited to church that didn't show up, right? It's disappointing. And fallen through lesson, meaning they'd set up times to teach and people, bailed out. We were driving through a holler. The holler, by the way, in West Virginia, they live in these basically a ravine is the simplest way to think about it, but they have hills on both sides, and it'll get fog to where you can't even see the sun because you're kind of down in the ravine, and then they have the fog overneath. So as they drive through this holler, when we thought one of our friends we had taught in the past walking around her home, so they saw a woman that they'd taught in the past. We, in a determined manner, drove down the gravel road to meet her. Turns out, it wasn't the woman we were looking for, and she made that very clear, right? So they go down thinking that they see a gal that they've worked with in the past. They drive down there, you can imagine this bumpy gravel road, kind of in the backwoods, and it's not the woman they're looking for, and she makes it clear in no uncertain terms. After telling us in an irritated tone that her friend wasn't home, you could tell this wasn't the first time she had told us off her driveway. Myself and other missionaries had stopped by to try and make contact in the past, but she wasn't having it. She said, quote, "You two might as well just give up," she said. Now, I'm sure this woman wasn't making a general statement about us giving up as missionaries, more than giving up trying to make contact with her friend. But her comment was so straightforward, I actually paused for a moment. It's freaking fired me up. Let me say this. What do you do when someone says you should give up? You should quit. Who do you think you are? Just give up right now. Just stop right now. Give up, quit. I think a lot of us are like, man, you're right. This is hard. This is one of those days. I do give up. This is what he says. Out of all of the negative comments I'd had been given in the past 23 months of my mission, he says, believe me, I've had my fair share of them. You can imagine you're out there talking to people about Jesus and you're knocking on doors and talking to them on the streets. Not everybody's going to be welcoming to the message. He says, none have caused me to think as much as this one did. I thought of all of the hard days, the difficult companions, the failures, the actual nasty comments, those long days knocking doors. In other words, the times when it really was more challenging than you gave it credit for. And then here's what he says. He thinks about this in his mind, and he says, quote, "You really think I'm just going to give up, I thought?" He says, I felt very strongly in that moment why I didn't give up in those tough times. There are more reasons than one, but at the end of the day, this is God's work. Listen, at the end of the day, the work you're doing is God's work too. You're out there trying to inspire people with your career, that's God's work. You're out there raising these kids, that's God's work. You're out there trying to get in the best shape of your life, that's because your body is your only gift. This is your temple. This is something you got to take care of, right? He says, I have been called to invite people to come unto Christ, their Savior, come what may. Okay, so here's what he says to him. As a dad freaking fires me up, he says, "Ma'am," I answered gently, "you're talking to the wrong person if you're looking for someone to give up." I thought, that's identity. This kid's not giving up. This kid's not giving up. He's going to keep getting back up and keep moving forward. I've tried to share with him since he was a young boy. I said to him, we persist until we succeed. Most people persist until it's hard. Most people persist until it's hot. Most people persist until someone says no. Most people persist until someone says you should quit, you should give up. I said, Isaac, not you. You persist for how long? Until you succeed. You just keep moving forward. You keep persisting. My friends, the word until can guarantee your success. I will persist until I succeed. I will adapt until I succeed. I will change and grow and read the books and wake up early and stay late and improve. For how long? Until I succeed. And then he ends with the quotes from the great Old Testament prophet Jeremiah. This Old Testament verse, and he says, Jeremiah asks the same question. He says, I will not make mention of the Lord nor speak any more in his name. Because he was in stocks and derisions daily. He's just getting made fun of. It's really not going well. But Jeremiah says, but his word, so God's word, was in mine heart as a burning fire shut up in my bones. And I grew weary with forbearing and I could not stay. I hope your dream is a burning fire shut up in your bones. And you grow weary with forbearing. Like you can't give up. You're chasing the dream. You're chasing the goal. You keep moving forward. You keep persevering. You keep persisting. For how long? Until you figure this thing out. Now listen, don't keep banging your head against the wall just to bang your head against the wall. Maybe you go over the wall. Maybe you try under the wall. Maybe you go around both sides. Maybe you get better tools. Maybe you build a team of people. And we all look for the weak spots. But eventually we're knocking the wall down. We're going to find the weak spots. We're going to press through with better tools. And we're going to work as a team to get there. We're going to persist until we succeed. That's identity. That's identity. You adjust and you adapt and you persist and you overcome until what? Until you succeed. Most people, they quit and then they give you all the reasons why they did. They explained, how's your business going? Oh, here's all the reasons why it failed. Or, hey, how's that relationship going? Oh, yeah, here's all the reasons why it failed. That's what most people do. They will stack reasons to justify the failure, to justify them quitting. Not you. Not you. You stack reasons to keep going. And you anchor in that identity so that when someone says to you, hey, you should just give up, you simply say, you picked the wrong person. You picked the wrong person if you think I'm going to quit. It's funny, even as a little boy, I'd wrestle with Isaac, and I was so much bigger, right? He's just a little tiny kid. When I'd get tired, because he just would never stop, I would just lay on him. I'm just thinking he's finally going to scream, Mom, someone help me, because I just weighed too much. This little kid, and this is a true story, his entire childhood, he never gave once. I remember just being like, Isaac, just give, and then I'll go to bed. He's like, oh, don't give, and he just kept going, kept persisting, until finally I was like, all right, I give. I'm exhausted, What Les Brown has the story with his son. They're playing a game together, and Les wins the game, and his son says, "Dad, let's play again." He's like, "Okay." Les wins again. Dad says, "Dad, let's play again." He wins again. He says, "Son, I'm tired. I'm going to bed." He said, "Dad, it's not over until I win." You picked the wrong person if you think I'm going to give up. You picked the wrong person if you think that I'm going to roll over and quit. So as you hear this, what do you need to go persist in? Where can you stack some untils? To read until, to persevere until, to adapt until, to grow until, to build a team until you succeed. My friends, what dreams do you need to double down on the reasons to keep going? And how can you update that identity to where your identity says you picked the wrong person? You're adding logs to the fire. You're adding fuel. Instead of you making me want to give up, you're making me You're guaranteeing my success, because there's no way you're having the last word. There's no way that the last time how's your little business going here? And that's what's going to end there. Next time you see me, you'll see how it goes. So you persist until you succeed, because that is your identity. Hope you guys got some value from this. Make sure you share this with your teams, and share this with your kids, and share this with people that would be served to hear this message. So, persist until, my friends, and I will see you guys on our next episode of the Justin Prince Show.